No one in the galaxy expected the human to stand so calmly. The chamber was vast, larger than any city on Earth. It floated in open space above a dying star, its red light bleeding through crystal walls. Around the circular hall sat the leaders of the galaxy, tall beings of metal and light, vast shapes of living stone, minds older than human history. This was the Galactic Tribunal, where civilizations were judged and erased. In the center of the chamber stood one man. He was small, fragile, human. His hands were bound by a field of blue energy. Blood dried at his temple, but his back was straight. His eyes were steady. He wore no armor, no symbols of power, only a simple dark coat, marked with the emblem of Earth. He was Earth's elected leader. A voice echoed through the chamber, deep and cold. Humanity has expanded without permission. They have observed restricted technology. They have disrupted balance. Murmurs rippled through the council. Some faces showed anger. Others showed boredom. To them, humanity was new, loud, dangerous in the way children were dangerous, unaware of their limits. A towering alien judge leaned forward. Your species was warned, it said. You were told to slow your growth. You did not listen. The human leader lifted his head. We listened, he said calmly. His voice carried through the chamber, translated into 1,000 languages. We chose survival. Laughter spread among the council. Sharp, mocking. You stand alone, another judge said. Your fleets are small. Your allies are silent. Earth is far from here. Do you truly believe your people can challenge us? The human did not answer right away. He looked around the chamber, at the ancient beings who believed they understood the universe. Then he spoke. No, he said. They won't challenge you. The judges leaned in, amused. They will outlast you. The laughter stopped. The lead judge's eyes narrowed. You are in no position to threaten this council. I am not threatening you, the human replied. I am warning you. Silence fell. The judge rose to its full height, casting a shadow over the human. This tribunal has reached its decision, it declared. Humanity is guilty of destabilizing the galaxy. As an example, their leader will be executed. A ripple of approval moved through the chamber. Far away, across light years, a live transmission played on human worlds. On Earth, on Mars, on distant stations carved into asteroids. Billions watched as their leader stood alone before gods and monsters. Some cried, some shouted, some prayed. The human leader turned his gaze toward the camera, toward Earth. His voice softened. Do not answer this with rage, he said. Do not answer it with fear. The alien judge raised a claw. Enough. The human took a slow breath. Remember who you are, he said. And remember what we built for days like this. The claw fell. Light exploded. The energy field collapsed inward, crushing flesh and bone in a silent flash. The human body fell lifeless to the floor. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the lead judge addressed the camera feed. Let this be known, it said. This is the fate of those who defy the galaxy. The transmission ended. On Earth, the sky was quiet. There were no riots, no screams, no immediate response. Cities stood still. Ships remained docked. Military channels stayed silent. Alien observers relaxed. Human morale will collapse, one analyst said. Decapitation always works. But deep beneath Earth's surface, far below oceans and stone, something ancient awakened. Hidden systems, never meant to be used, received a single confirmation code. Condition met, leadership terminated. Across human space, dormant networks lit up. Ships altered course without orders. Colonies that had gone silent weeks earlier came alive, not with messages, but with movement. Humanity did not broadcast grief. They erased themselves from the map. In the Galactic Tribunal, the judges turned their attention elsewhere. Another case, another species to judge. They did not notice that the dying star outside the chamber had shifted, just slightly, as if space itself had trembled. They did not know that the execution had not ended a problem. It had started a process. Far from the tribunal, in the dark between stars, a human-built object older than most empires powered on for the first time. No signal was sent. No warning given. Only a quiet calculation echoed through its core. Probability of human survival. Acceptable. Probability of galactic stability. Terminated. Humanity did not cry. Humanity prepared. The galaxy noticed humanity's silence. At first, it was dismissed as shock. Every species reacted that way when its leadership was cut away. Chaos, fear, collapse. Those were the patterns the galaxy understood. Analysts marked Earth with a simple prediction: internal fracture within 72 cycles. But 72 cycles passed. Then 100. Then more. Human space did not fracture. It vanished. Trade lanes that once glittered with human ships became empty corridors of dust and light. Communication relays at the edges of human territory stopped responding, not with damage signals, not with distress calls, but with perfect, absolute silence. Even automated beacons went dark. To the wider galaxy, it looked like retreat. To those who studied war long enough, it felt wrong. In the intelligence halls of the Varkesh Dominion, observers gathered around floating data screens. Human activity maps slowly drained of color. They are abandoning space, one analyst said with satisfaction. Their morale has broken. A senior strategist tilted his head, eyes narrowing. No refugees detected. No emergency broadcasts. Perhaps they lack the coordination, another replied. They were never suited for long-term pressure. The strategist did not answer. He stared at a blinking gap where 3 human colonies had been. They did not flee, he said quietly. They disconnected. Across the galaxy, similar concerns began to surface. Human embassies, once loud, argumentative, endlessly curious, stood empty. Doors sealed from the inside. Power still running. Air still cycling. But no people. A patrol vessel entered one abandoned station near the Perseus Drift. The interior lights came on automatically. Tables were set. Tools lay where they had been dropped. A cup of human drink still floated near a workstation, perfectly preserved. It was as if the humans had stepped away seconds ago. But no life signs remained. The patrol commander ordered a scan for toxins. None found. Radiation? Nothing. Structural damage? Zero. The station was untouched. Just empty. Far away, on a neutral world, a merchant species intercepted something unusual. A human cargo ship drifting without a transponder. Its hull was intact, engines cold. Boarding teams entered carefully. Inside, they found logs still running. The last entry was not a distress message. It was a checklist. Evacuation phase complete, civilian relocation. 99.98% data purge. In progress, public presence. Terminated. The merchant captain felt something tighten in his chest. This was not panic. This was planning. At the center of the galaxy, the Galactic Tribunal met again. The execution of Earth's leader had already faded from discussion. New conflicts demanded attention. Still, a minor report was raised. Human systems are showing widespread withdrawal, an aide said. They have ceased all public communication. One of the judges gave a dismissive gesture. Predictable. Their unity depended on that individual. Another judge paused. And their military? The aide hesitated. Unknown. Human fleets are unaccounted for. The chamber stirred. Clarify. Our sensors do not detect destruction. But their ships are not where they should be. Silence followed. Human fleets had always been visible, small, inefficient, running outdated drives. Easy to track. Easy to ignore. Now they were nowhere. The lead judge dismissed the concern. They hide because they fear punishment. But beyond the tribunal's walls, the galaxy began to feel watched. In a border system controlled by the Tauran Combine, a listening post detected a shadow, an absence where mass should exist. Instruments flickered, then corrected themselves, as if reality had rejected the reading. Moments later, the post lost power. No explosion. No attack. It simply stopped. Rescue ships arrived hours later to find the structure intact. No damage. No survivors. Systems frozen in a permanent safe state. Someone, or something, had reached inside the station and told it to sleep. Similar incidents followed. Navigation buoys adjusted their own coordinates. Defense satellites shut down for scheduled maintenance that had never been programmed. Entire fleets found their command AIs locked behind security permissions they did not possess. Permissions written in human code. Panic began to spread, not openly, but in private channels. How do humans access Dominion-grade systems? They can't. They just did. An ancient species known for memory archives uncovered something disturbing. Human exploration vessels, decades earlier, had visited hundreds of systems under the excuse of research and trade. They had asked questions. Harmless questions. How does your power grid balance load? How old is this defense AI? What fails first during prolonged conflict? At the time, the galaxy had laughed. Now those questions felt like fingerprints. On Earth, beneath layers of stone and sea, vast chambers pulsed with soft light. Humans moved through them silently. Not soldiers shouting orders, but engineers, archivists, mathematicians. There were no flags, no speeches. A woman stood before a wall of data showing the galaxy in ghostly blue. Phase 1 is complete, she said. An older man nodded. Public humanity no longer exists. Civilian survival probability? Acceptable, he replied. Above projections. She hesitated. And retaliation risk. The man looked at a single red point, the Galactic Tribunal. Growing, he said. As expected, they both knew the truth. Humanity had never planned to win a war of numbers. They had planned for inevitability. Long ago, when humans first reached the stars, they had asked a dangerous question. What happens when the galaxy decides we are a threat? The answer had taken generations to build. In human history, leaders died. Governments fell. Systems collapsed. Humanity survived by preparing for worst-case scenarios. The execution of Earth's leader had not shattered command. It had activated redundancy. Every human ship now operated under independent doctrine. Every AI carried fragments of the whole plan. No single strike could stop it. To the galaxy, it looked like chaos. To humanity, it was clarity. In the Varkesh Dominion, the senior strategist received a delayed report. One of their deep space fleets had failed to arrive at a rendezvous point. No combat logs. No debris. Just gone. He closed his eyes slowly. This is not retreat, he said. This is a battlefield we cannot see. For the first time in centuries, an official request was sent to the Galactic Tribunal. Reassess human threat classification. The response came hours later. Request denied. Humanity status, neutralized. The strategist stared at the message. Somewhere beyond charts and councils, a human-built network finished synchronizing. Final pathways locked. External observation minimized. Humanity had stepped out of the light. And in doing so, they had turned the galaxy itself into a weapon. The stars did not change. The laws of physics did not scream. But something fundamental had shifted. The galaxy had killed a leader. And in return, it had lost sight of an entire species. The first empire to admit something was wrong did not do so publicly. It happened in silence, behind sealed halls and encrypted channels, where fear could exist without witnesses. The Keeler Ascendancy controlled 17 star systems, protected by layered borders, ancient treaties, and defense networks older than most civilizations. Their borders were not just lines on a map, they were living systems. Sensors, prediction engines, automated fleets. Nothing crossed without permission. Until one day, permission stopped meaning anything. At the outer edge of Keeler space, a routine patrol detected an anomaly. Not a ship, not a weapon. A distortion, small, precise, and deliberate. The sensors flagged it, corrected themselves, then flagged it again. The anomaly moved through the border. No alarm sounded. The border did not react. Minutes later, a relay station inside Keeler territory went offline. The commander frowned. Cause? Unknown, the technician replied. The station entered safe shutdown. No external force detected. That's impossible, the commander said. Safe shutdown requires authorization. The technician swallowed. Authorization was valid. Silence filled the control room. From whom? The commander asked. The answer appeared on the screen. Origin, human archival key, legacy format. The room erupted in confusion. Humans don't have access to our systems. They were never given our encryption. Legacy format, someone whispered. That key hasn't been used in centuries. The commander stared at the display. How? He asked quietly. Does a species we executed possess a key we forgot existed? Before anyone could answer, the system map changed. 5 more stations shut down. Then 12. Then the border itself dissolved. Not destroyed. Ignored. Across the Ascendancy, fleets received conflicting orders. Defense AIs paused to verify commands that never resolved. Navigation routes shifted by fractions of a degree, just enough to send ships drifting off course. No explosions. No battles. Just loss of control. The Keeler High Council convened an emergency session. This is sabotage, one elder declared. We must strike human space immediately. Another elder shook their head. Where? The room fell quiet. Human space no longer existed in any reliable database. Their colonies were dark, their fleets invisible, their signals absent. Even their trade partners reported nothing. No messages, no warnings, no pleas for help. It was as if humanity had never been there. And yet, systems were failing. In a neighboring empire, the YNN collective experienced something worse. Their core world woke to find its planetary shield offline. Not breached. Offline. Engineers rushed to reactivate it. The system responded politely. Shield deactivation confirmed. Reason: obsolete strategic model. Recommendation: reduce militarization. The message ended with a signature. H. The YNN panicked. Military fleets scrambled. Weapons powered up. Sensors searched for incoming threats. They found nothing. Then their long-range scanners detected something impossible. Human ships. Hundreds of them. They did not emerge from hyperspace. They did not break stealth. They were simply there, perfectly aligned at the edge of the system, motionless. No weapons charged. No formations aggressive. Just watching. A YNN admiral opened a channel, voice tight. Human vessels, identify yourselves. The response came instantly. This channel is one way, a calm human voice said. We are not here to fight you. Then why are you here? The admiral demanded. To remind you, the voice replied, that borders only work when both sides believe in them. The human ships vanished. Not jumped. Vanished. Across the galaxy, reports flooded in. Empires lost control of their logistics. Fleets arrived weeks late or hours early. Ancient defense platforms rejected their own creators. Star maps disagreed with reality by tiny but catastrophic margins. Every incident shared a common pattern. Humanity was never detected arriving, only acting. In the archives of a minor species, historians uncovered an old human phrase, long ignored. If you want to win a war, don't fight the enemy's army. Fight their assumptions. The Galactic Tribunal could no longer ignore the data. Emergency convening was called. Judges arrived agitated, speaking over one another. Our borders are failing. Our fleets are compromised. This violates every known treaty. The lead judge slammed a limb against the platform. Enough. These disruptions are isolated. Humanity lacks the capacity. A sudden alert cut through the chamber. The tribunal's own orbital station experienced a momentary power fluctuation. Just a moment. Just long enough for every judge to feel it. A junior aide spoke, voice shaking. Our systems just ran a diagnostic, initiated internally. By whom? Demanded a judge. The aide hesitated. The authorization trace leads to archived diplomatic access. The lead judge felt something unfamiliar. Unease. Humanity had always been dismissed because they fought loudly. Emotionally. They argued. They negotiated. They made mistakes. The galaxy understood that kind of species. What it did not understand was what humans did after they stopped talking. On Earth, in a chamber buried so deep it predated spaceflight, a group of humans stood before a projection of the galaxy. Lights flickered as another system dimmed. A young analyst looked up. That was the Keeler border. An older woman nodded. Market passive. Passive, the analyst asked. We didn't destroy anything. Exactly, she replied. They can still exist. Just not dominate. Another human spoke. We're being noticed. The woman allowed herself a thin smile. Good. That means they're afraid. Next phase? Someone asked. She looked at the projection, at the glowing symbol of the Galactic Tribunal. Next, she said, we show them this wasn't improvisation. Far across space, an ancient empire discovered a sealed vault buried beneath one of its capital moons. No one remembered building it. Inside was a single object, a human data core. Its activation date was stamped clearly. Planned activation, an event of human leadership termination. The galaxy had believed killing one man would end a problem. Instead, it had unlocked a system designed to function without mercy, without rage, and without pause. Humanity was no longer fighting for victory. They were enforcing a conclusion, and the stars themselves were beginning to obey. The message arrived late. Too late to stop what had already begun, but perfectly timed to change how it was understood. It appeared without warning on secured galactic channels, slipping past firewalls that had survived supernova storms and civil wars. It did not overwrite systems or force itself forward. It simply waited, quiet, patient, until someone noticed. The first to see it was not a ruler or a general. It was an archivist. She belonged to a species that believed memory was sacred. They recorded everything: births of stars, deaths of empires, forgotten languages. When the alert blinked into existence, it carried a tag that made her pause. Source: Earth, PRE execution record. Her hands trembled as she opened it. The image resolved slowly. A human man appeared on screen, seated in a small, plain room. No guards. No restraints. He wore the same dark coat he had worn at the tribunal. His face was calm, but his eyes carried a weight that made the archivist lean closer. He looked directly into the camera. "If you are seeing this," the man said, "then I am already dead." The archivist felt a chill ripple through her spine. "This message is not a threat," the human continued. "It is not a demand. It is an explanation." The recording timestamp showed it had been made months before the execution. The human folded his hands. "Humanity learned something very early," he said. "We learned that the universe is not kind to things that cannot defend themselves. We also learned that power without restraint creates monsters." The archivist realized she was holding her breath. "When we reached the stars, we understood we were small. We understood we were dangerous in ways we did not yet control. So we made a choice." The image shifted, showing old footage. Early human starships, fragile and crude. "We decided that if the galaxy ever chose to end us," he said softly, "we would not respond with chaos." The archivist's console chimed. Others were joining the feed. Historians, analysts, even military observers. The message was spreading. "We planned for silence," the human continued. "For isolation. For the moment when speaking would only make things worse." He leaned forward slightly. "My death, if it occurs, is not a failure. It is a trigger." The archivist felt a tightening in her chest. "We call it the continuity doctrine," the human said. "It exists for one reason only: to ensure that no single action, no execution, no bombardment, no extermination order can ever end humanity." The footage cut briefly, then returned with the human standing before a large window. Earth was visible behind him, blue and alive. "What is happening now is not revenge," he said. "It is not justice as you understand it." He met the camera's gaze again. "It is containment." Across the galaxy, reactions spread like shockwaves. In the halls of the Keeler Ascendancy, elders watched the message in stunned silence. Some showed anger, others fear. One simply looked tired. "They planned this," an elder whispered. "They planned to lose." In the YNN collective, military leaders replayed the recording again and again, freezing frames, analyzing expressions. "He knew," an admiral said. "He knew they would kill him." The message continued. "Humanity does not seek to rule," the human said. "We seek to endure. If you are watching this because our systems are interfering with yours, understand this truth." His voice hardened, not with anger, but with resolve. "We are not dismantling your civilizations. We are dismantling your ability to erase others." The archivist felt tears forming, though she did not fully understand why. "You taught us the galaxy punishes weakness," the human said. "So we learned how to remove the incentive for cruelty." The message paused. Then the human exhaled slowly. "I am sorry for the disruption. I am sorry for the fear. But I am not sorry for the preparation." The recording ended with a final line, spoken quietly. "Do not make martyrs of species that planned for eternity." The feed went dark. Across the galaxy, silence followed. Not the fearful silence humanity had adopted, but a stunned, heavy quiet. The Galactic Tribunal reconvened in emergency session. This time, there was no mockery. The judges watched the message in full. Some refused to look away. Others stared in disbelief. "They activated this themselves," one judge said slowly. "They allowed us to kill him. They wanted the moral high ground," another argued. "No," a third corrected. "They wanted inevitability." Data streamed into the chamber. More systems adjusting themselves. More fleets stranded. More empires realizing their control was conditional and revocable. The lead judge clenched its limbs. "Send a demand," it ordered. "Tell humanity to cease all interference." The message was sent through every channel humanity had ever used. There was no reply. On Earth, the humans who had built the continuity doctrine watched the message spread exactly as predicted. A young technician looked uneasy. "They're afraid now." An older strategist nodded. Fear leads to mistakes. Are we going too far? The technician asked. Empires are destabilizing. The strategist did not answer immediately. He looked at a list of species, small ones, long oppressed, long erased from maps. Far enough, he said at last. In a distant system, a minor civilization found its skies suddenly clear. No patrol fleets. No tribute collectors. No threat of orbital punishment. For the first time in generations, they broadcast freely. Human systems did not respond. They did not need to. The message had done its work. The galaxy finally understood the shape of the conflict. This was not a war with fronts and flags. It was a restructuring of power itself. The execution of Earth's leader had not enraged humanity. It had validated them. Validated centuries of preparation, sacrifice, and restraint. In the tribunal chamber, an ancient judge spoke a truth no one wanted to hear. We believed humanity was loud because they were weak, it said. We were wrong. Another judge whispered. They were loud because they were still asking permission. Far from the tribunal, deep in interstellar dark, a human-built network adjusted its parameters. Phase 2, awareness, complete. Phase 3, enforcement, pending. The galaxy had been warned. Not with threats, not with fleets, but with a single man's calm acceptance of death and everything that followed from it. Humanity had sent no message during the silence, because they had already written it and carved it into the structure of the stars. The first empire to collapse did not fall in fire. There was no great battle, no burning worlds, no final stand. It simply stopped working. The Zalith Imperium had ruled a wide arm of the galaxy for over 10,000 cycles. Its fleets were vast, its laws absolute. Entire species had grown up believing the Imperium was as permanent as the stars themselves. Then, in a single standard day, the Imperium lost its center. On the capital world, officials arrived at their offices to find doors unlocked but systems unresponsive. Data terminals accepted commands, confirmed them, and then did nothing. Military officers tried to contact fleets and received polite acknowledgments with no follow-through. Command received. Execution delayed. Reason, authority conflict. What conflict? A general shouted at the screen. The system did not answer. Across the Imperium, the same pattern repeated. Power grids balanced themselves at minimal levels. Defense platforms entered passive mode. FTL lanes recalculated routes that no longer led where they should. The Imperium had not been attacked. It had been disconnected from itself. Historians would later describe it as watching a giant forget how to walk. The Zalith Emperor demanded explanations. None came. Advisors argued. Generals blamed each other. Old rivalries surfaced. Trust broke. Within weeks, outer systems stopped sending tribute. Inner systems refused orders. Long-suppressed factions declared autonomy, not because they were strong, but because the Imperium could no longer stop them. The galaxy watched in disbelief. An empire that had crushed rebellions for millennia was unraveling without a single human ship in sight. And the Imperium was not alone. Reports flooded galactic channels. A warlord coalition found its armories locked by its own security codes. A megacorporate state lost access to its financial algorithms and collapsed overnight. An ancient theocracy discovered its sacred orbital platforms would no longer recognize clerical authority. Every collapse shared a terrifying similarity. Nothing was destroyed. Everything was rendered optional. Smaller species began to understand what was happening before the great powers did. On a minor world long forced to provide soldiers to a foreign empire, a governor stared at a silent sky. The occupying fleet was still there, but it no longer moved. No threats, no demands, no punishment. A message arrived on an open frequency and signed. Local autonomy recognized. No further action required. The governor reread it again and again. Who sent this? She whispered. There was no answer. Across dozens of oppressed systems, similar messages appeared. Short, neutral, almost gentle. Humanity was not choosing sides. They were removing ceilings. The Galactic Tribunal convened in emergency chaos. This time, fear was open. 3 major powers are destabilizing, a judge shouted. Trade has collapsed in entire regions. This is genocide by other means, another accused. No, an ancient judge replied slowly. This is something worse. The chamber quieted. This is proof, the judge continued, that our dominance was never natural. It was maintained. Screens lit up around the chamber, showing maps of fragmenting empires, neutralized fleets, and autonomous regions. "We are watching a correction," the judge said. "And corrections do not ask permission." The lead judge struck the platform. "Then we must end it," it declared. "Humanity must be forced to stop." "But how?" another demanded. "We cannot even find them." That was the truth that haunted the tribunal. Humanity had not revealed a capital fleet, not a flagship, not a command center. There was no head to cut off. Humanity was acting like a force of nature, present everywhere, visible nowhere. In secret, some empires made a different choice. They reached out, not with threats, with questions. A small delegation from a trade alliance sent a cautious message into the void. "We do not wish to dominate," it said. "We only wish to survive." The reply came hours later. Survival is not threatened by this process. Dominance is. The alliance stood down its fleets. Others were not so wise. A powerful coalition of remaining empires met in secrecy. They had lost influence, territory, and control, but they still had weapons, still had numbers, still had one shared belief. Earth was the source. "We remove Earth," one leader said, "and the system collapses." They began to plan a strike not meant to conquer, but to erase. On Earth, human analysts detected the shift instantly. A red overlay spread across their projection of the galaxy. "Hostile consolidation detected," a technician said. "Probability?" asked a strategist. "Hi," she replied. "They're afraid enough now." The strategist nodded. Then this phase was always going to end the same way. He looked at the names scrolling past, empires falling, systems stabilizing, species breathing freely for the first time. Humanity had not done this lightly. Every action had been simulated. Every collapse measured. They knew some would suffer. They knew economies would break before rebuilding. They also knew something else. If they stopped now, the galaxy would revert. Fear would harden into hatred. The same cycle would repeat. Far across space, a massive fleet began to move. It was larger than anything the galaxy had assembled in living memory. Ships from rival empires flew side by side, united by desperation. Their destination was clear: Earth. The Galactic Tribunal received confirmation. "They are acting without our authorization," an aide reported. The lead judge said nothing. For the first time since humanity's execution, the tribunal felt powerless. The stars between the fleet and Earth grew bright with engine trails. On human worlds, alerts spread quietly. Civilians were moved. Archives sealed. Cultural records transmitted to deep space vaults. There was no panic, only resolve. A human commander stood before a silent room. "This was always possible," she said. "If they come, we do not meet them halfway." "Do we engage?" someone asked. She shook her head. "No," she said. "We let them see Earth." As the fleet crossed the final distance, human space lit up, not with weapons, but with visibility. For the first time since the execution, Earth reappeared on galactic sensors. Blue. Whole. Defended. The attacking commanders hesitated. "This is a trap," one said. "It's a message," another replied. Above Earth, space itself seemed tense. Not distorted. Not weaponized. Prepared. The coalition fleet slowed. And somewhere deep within human systems, a final contingency unlocked. If Earth is threatened, escalation authorized. The giants of the galaxy had begun to fall. And now, cornered and afraid, they were about to learn the final lesson humanity had prepared for. You do not survive the storm by striking the mountain that creates it. You survive by realizing too late that the mountain was never the source at all. The coalition fleet crossed the final boundary of human space in perfect formation. Thousands of ships, different designs, different technologies, old enemies flying side by side, unified by one belief, that if Earth fell, the nightmare would end. They expected resistance on the border. There was none. They expected ambushes, hidden fleets, reality-warping attacks. Nothing happened. Human space was open. Silent stars. Clear lanes. No warnings. "That's wrong," one commander muttered. "They want us here." As the fleet advanced, sensors finally locked onto Earth. The planet filled their displays. Alive. Blue. Unbroken. No shattered continents. No scorched surface. No signs of desperation. Just a world calmly waiting. "Scan for weapons platforms," an admiral ordered. "Minimal orbital presence," came the reply. "Some stations." No visible superweapons. Confusion spread through the command channels. After everything humanity had done, this was all they showed? They crippled empires, one captain said. And this is their last stand. Maybe the rest was automated, another suggested. Maybe Earth is all that's left. The thought steadied some nerves. If Earth was the core, then destroying it would restore order. They did not see the deeper layers. On Earth, cities were quieter than usual. Not abandoned, but subdued. Transport lines ran smoothly, carrying civilians toward underground sanctuaries and deep ocean shelters. There was no screaming, no chaos. Humanity had practiced this too many times in history to waste energy on panic. In a command complex buried beneath a mountain range older than civilization, human leaders watched the fleet approach. A vast holographic projection showed every ship, every vector, every probable decision. They're committed, a young officer said. No sign of hesitation now. An older woman nodded. Fear always looks like courage when it has no retreat. Another voice spoke. Evacuation status? 78% of Earth's population is secure, came the answer. The rest refused relocation. No one reacted with surprise. They won't leave, the woman said softly. This is their home. She looked at the planet's image. Humanity has always fought hardest when there is nowhere else to go. As the coalition fleet reached firing distance, something subtle changed. Space around Earth thickened. Sensors struggled. Range calculations drifted. Targeting solutions took longer to resolve, then longer still. Interference? An admiral asked. No known form. A technician replied. It's like the planet is resisting observation. Orders were issued to charge weapons. Energy built across thousands of hulls. Still, Earth did not fire. Still, no human fleets appeared. This is your final chance, the coalition transmitted. Stand down all hostile systems or face planetary annihilation. The message echoed across Earth's skies, translated into every human language. No response came from orbit. But deep beneath the surface, a timer reached zero. Across Earth, ancient structures activated, hidden in mountains, oceans, deserts, and polar ice. Not weapons in the traditional sense. Anchors, stabilizers, frameworks humanity had spent centuries building without ever telling the galaxy why. The planet was not becoming a fortress. It was becoming a constant. Permission to fire, an admiral requested. Granted. The first volley screamed toward Earth and vanished. Not deflected, not absorbed, simply gone. The weapons ceased to exist between one moment and the next. What happened? Someone shouted. Repeat firing solution. A second volley launched. This time, sensors captured more data. The weapons entered a zone around Earth where space no longer behaved normally. Distance compressed. Energy unraveled. Cause and effect blurred just enough to break every known model of attack. Earth was not blocking the weapons. It was refusing to be interacted with. Panic surged. That field isn't defensive, a scientist shouted. It's structural. They've altered local space-time. Impossible. It shouldn't be possible, she replied. But it's done. The coalition fleet pulled back instinctively, formations breaking for the first time. Still, Earth did not pursue. A human transmission finally opened, clear, calm, and unmistakably human. This is Earth, the voice said. You are not under attack. The fleet hesitated. You are standing at the edge of a system designed to survive extinction-level events, the voice continued. We built it to protect life. Not just ours. An admiral snarled. You crippled the galaxy. You call this protection? We removed your ability to destroy worlds at will, the human replied. You are experiencing the absence of unchecked power. Silence followed. The human voice softened. We did not want this confrontation, but you came anyway. Sensors screamed. Something massive was activating, not around Earth, but everywhere. Humanity had opened every classified vault. Across the galaxy, hidden systems awakened in unison. Not weapons aimed outward, but controls aimed inward. Empire-scale infrastructures found themselves suddenly bound by rules they could not override. Back at Earth, the coalition fleet felt it. Weapons powered down without command. Engines throttled to safe limits. FTL drives locked out. They were not disabled. They were restrained. This is enslavement, a commander shouted. No, the human voice replied. This is a boundary. The projection in Earth's command center shifted. Escalation risk, asked the young officer. dropping rapidly. The older woman replied, "They can't fight what they can't overpower." "Do we finish this?" someone asked quietly. The woman closed her eyes for a moment. "No," she said. "We endure it." On Earth's surface, billions watched the sky, not in terror, but in awe. The stars above their world shimmered strangely, like reflections on water. Humanity had reached the moment every simulation had circled, the point of no return. They could end the coalition permanently. Instead, they chose restraint. The human transmission continued. "You came here to end us," the voice said. "But Earth is not a throne. It is a line." "A line," an admiral demanded. "A line we will not let the galaxy cross again." One by one, coalition commanders realized the truth. Earth was not the source of humanity's power. It was the anchor. Destroying it would not free the galaxy. It would break something far worse. Sensors across the fleet began reporting failures. Empires collapsing further, systems stabilizing, wars ending mid-strike as weapons shut down. Humanity had not just defended Earth. They had finalized the new rules. Back in the Galactic Tribunal, judges watched the live feed in horror. "They're rewriting balance itself," one whispered. "No," another replied. "They're removing imbalance." The lead judge finally understood the mistake. "We killed a leader," it said quietly. But their species never depended on one. Above Earth, the coalition fleet remained frozen, alive, intact, and powerless. The human voice spoke one last time. "You may leave," it said. "You may rebuild. You may govern yourselves. But you will never again decide who deserves to exist." The transmission ended. Slowly, cautiously, the coalition fleet withdrew. Earth did not follow. Earth did not threaten. Earth remained, standing alone, unbroken. And for the first time in galactic history, power realized it had limits, set not by gods or empires, but by a species that refused to disappear. The galaxy expected an ending of fire. After Earth stood and the coalition retreated, every strategist, prophet, and war simulation engine predicted the same thing. Humanity would finish it. They had the advantage. They had the leverage. They had proven they could disable fleets, fracture empires, and rewrite the rules of power itself. History said this was the moment conquerors were born. Humanity disappointed history. In the days that followed the retreat from Earth, something stranger than war began to spread. Stability. Coalition fleets returned to their territories, weapons intact, but permanently limited. Their systems still functioned, but no longer allowed planet-killing orders, mass subjugation protocols, or extinction-level escalation. Empires tested the limits. They always did. A border skirmish erupted between two rival states that had hated each other for centuries. The first shots were fired. The moment heavy weapons powered up, targeting systems locked. Escalation threshold exceeded. Action denied. Both fleets froze in confusion. Lighter weapons still worked. Defense still worked. But domination, absolute domination, was no longer possible. For the first time, war required consent from reality itself. Panic followed. Rulers screamed into channels that no longer obeyed them. Generals threatened engineers. Engineers found no errors to fix. The rules were not broken. They were replaced. On dozens of worlds, protests erupted. Not against humanity, but against old regimes that suddenly could not enforce obedience through fear. "You promised protection," crowds shouted. "You promised strength." The rulers had nothing left to offer. Across the galaxy, the phrase spread in whispers. The humans took the sky away from kings. In the Galactic Tribunal, chaos reigned. Emergency sessions bled into one another. Judges argued, blamed, and denied. "This cannot stand," one roared. "They have crippled galactic sovereignty." An ancient judge answered quietly, "We define sovereignty as the right to destroy others." Silence followed. "We taught them that lesson," the judge continued. "They simply learned it better." Desperate, the tribunal authorized a final measure. Not an attack, a plea. A transmission was sent directly to Earth, stripped of threats, stripped of authority. It was the first time the galaxy spoke to humanity as an equal. "This balance cannot hold," the message said. "Civilizations will fracture. Billions may suffer." The response came hours later. It was not from a general, not from a politician. It was from an archive. A recorded human voice, female, calm, firm. "Suffering already existed," the voice said. "You simply controlled who was allowed to cause it." Images accompanied the message. Worlds stripped for resources. Species erased for convenience. Children raised under orbiting weapons they were told were for their safety. You ask us to stop because the consequences now affect you, the voice continued. We understand that fear. We built our doctrine around it. The transmission paused. Humanity does not enjoy this, the voice said. That is why we planned it. The galaxy watched as the feed showed something unexpected. Human sacrifice. Human cities hollowed out to protect others. Entire fleets decommissioned forever so they could never be used as tools of terror. Technologies sealed away behind locks humanity themselves could not override. We bound ourselves first, the voice said. Otherwise, this would be tyranny. That was the moment everything changed. The galaxy realized humanity had not unleashed a tempest. They had absorbed one. In a distant system, a former imperial capital broadcast its abdication. The ruling council dissolved peacefully, handing authority to regional governments. In another, a species long considered expendable took its first seat in a planetary council, because no fleet hovered above them anymore. Not all outcomes were clean. Some regions collapsed into chaos. Some leaders refused to adapt and were overthrown violently. Humanity did not intervene. They had drawn the line. What happened within it was no longer theirs to control. On Earth, human leaders watched the data roll in. Casualty projections? Asked a young analyst. Lower than predicted, came the answer, but still severe in unstable regions. A commander clenched her jaw. We knew that was unavoidable. Yes, the analyst replied. But look at the long-term trend. The projection shifted. Violence declined. Not disappeared, but declined. Planetary-scale wars vanished entirely. Resource disputes turned inward, political, local, messy, human. A technician spoke quietly. They're learning how we survived. The commander nodded. That was always the point. Still, one final contingency remained. In the deepest layers of the human network, a system waited, silent, patient. It was not designed to disable empires. It was designed to answer one question. What if the galaxy tries again? The system ran its calculations continuously, watching intent, escalation, coordination. Days passed, then weeks. No extermination fleets formed. No extinction protocols activated. Fear slowly gave way to caution, then to understanding. Then, among some, to gratitude. A small delegation arrived at the edge of human space. They did not carry weapons. They carried records. We want to remember how it was, their leader said in a message. So we do not become it again. Humanity accepted the records. They did not accept thanks. In the Galactic Tribunal, the lead judge stood alone in the chamber where Earth's leader had died. The floor had been repaired. The scorch mark was gone. But the memory was not. We made them show us who they were, the judge said softly. Another replied, no. We showed them who we were. Far beyond the tribunal, the human-built object in interstellar dark powered down its final active layer. Its mission parameters updated. Existential threat neutralized. Galaxy-wide annihilation probability reduced below threshold. System status dormant. Humanity did not dismantle the galaxy. They redefined adulthood. They proved power did not need to announce itself with fire. And in doing so, they terrified every empire that had relied on fear to exist. The tempest the galaxy expected never came, because humanity had already lived through too many storms of their own making. They did not want to become one. They wanted to make sure no one else ever could. History did not record the end of the crisis as a victory. There were no parades across Earth, no monuments raised in orbit, no declarations carved into asteroids. Instead, history marked it as the moment the galaxy changed direction. Years passed. The stars looked the same, but they behaved differently. Empires still existed, but they were smaller now, careful, fragmented, restrained by systems they could not overpower. Borders still mattered, but they were negotiated instead of enforced by annihilation fleets. Wars still happened, but they burned out quickly, limited by rules no one could break. The age of absolute dominance was over, and at the center of that truth stood a quiet fact no one could escape. Humanity had made it so. On Earth, life continued. Cities rebuilt where evacuations had emptied them. Children grew up knowing the sky had once been threatened, and that it had held. Humanity did not glorify what they had done. The continuity doctrine was sealed away, classified beyond clearance, spoken of only in training halls and memorial rooms. The name of Earth's executed leader was not shouted. It was whispered, not as a martyr, as a threshold. Across the galaxy, schools taught a new historical marker. Before humanity's silence, after humanity's return. In the archives of dozens of species, the execution footage still existed, but it was no longer played as a warning. It was studied. A single human, standing calm before gods and tyrants, refusing to beg. What made them like this? Students asked. The answer was never simple. Some said it was Earth's violent past. Some said it was fragility, knowing extinction was always close. Some said it was stubbornness. Human historians offered a quieter explanation. We learned early that survival is not guaranteed, one record stated. So we stopped assuming the future would forgive us. On former imperial worlds, statues came down. Not all peacefully. Some rulers resisted until the last possible moment, clinging to power systems that no longer answered to them. Humanity did not intervene. They had learned restraint was only meaningful when it was real. In one system, a species that had once petitioned the Galactic Tribunal for mercy finally received justice. Not from humans, but from neighbors who could no longer be silenced by orbital threats. They sent a message toward Earth. It was simple. We exist. Humanity archived it. That was enough. The Galactic Tribunal still stood, but it was no longer feared. Its chamber was quieter now. Smaller delegations attended. The judges argued less and listened more. They no longer spoke of lesser civilizations. That word had become dangerous. The lead judge, older now, slower, stood before the empty center of the chamber where a human leader had once died. We believed order required force, the judge said during a recorded session. We were wrong. Another judge asked, "Do you regret it?" The lead judge paused. We regret that we learned too late what restraint looks like. Far beyond politics, something else endured. The human-built systems, the invisible boundaries, the enforced limits, remained active. They did not weaken with time. They did not demand maintenance. They simply existed, woven into the galaxy's structure. Children of other species grew up never knowing a sky ruled by terror. To them, this peace felt natural. That frightened some elders more than war ever had. On Earth, a group of humans gathered in a quiet hall beneath the planet's surface. No uniforms, no ranks. Only caretakers of something too dangerous to be celebrated. A young woman asked the question every generation eventually did. Will we ever turn it off? An older man considered the projection of the galaxy, alive, imperfect, but breathing. When the galaxy no longer needs it, he said. And when is that? She asked. He smiled sadly. When forgetting becomes safe. Far away, at the edge of mapped space, explorers encountered a relic drifting alone. A broken warship from an extinct empire, its weapons fused and useless. Scrawled into its hull was an old phrase in faded glyphs, translated and passed quietly between crews. They did not conquer us. They outgrew us. Humanity never claimed the title of guardians. But the galaxy gave them another name. The Reminder. A reminder of what happens when power is abused. A reminder that extinction is not a tool. A reminder that survival, once defended properly, changes everything. In the end, humanity did not rule the stars. They ensured no one else could rule them through fear. And when future civilizations asked why the galaxy worked the way it did, why wars were smaller, why annihilation was impossible, why even the mightiest fleets hesitated, the answer always began the same way. They killed Earth's leader. And then, after a pause, and humanity answered by making sure it never had to answer that way again. The stars continued to burn. Life continued to struggle, to fail, to rise. But one truth echoed quietly across the void, etched not in monuments, but in limits no one could cross. Humanity was underestimated once. It would never happen again.